Hi, and welcome to another Platinum Great Worm episode on the It's a Mimic podcast, where we're sitting down with one of our top tier Patreon subscribers, Scott. Platinum Great Worm tier patrons are able to sit down and record an episode with us every so often. And so Scott decided that today we're going to discuss using spreadsheets in our D&D prep. But before we get started, Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No real complaints.
I'm excited to talk about this. You and I have popped off in the past about Excel and how much we like spreadsheets on our Patreon Discord. And I think there's only a couple other people that really understand the sheer amount of love we have for spreadsheets and why we think they're as powerful as they are. Most people just get really quiet when we start to pop off about it, but we've decided to do an episode about it. Before I say anything else, though, if you're listening to the audio of this, you're only going to get half the experience. Jump over to YouTube, where we are actually going to have the video of this recording up and running. And we're going to share the screen of all the different spreadsheets that I've been using. And for my side of things, it's mostly about organization. But we are going to talk, this is not going to be a big like Excel how to, but more about like why we chose to use spreadsheets for different factors. So, um, Scott, what's your experience using spreadsheets in general? Just like, is it a part of your work life? Were you trained on it, like
So
taking
I
courses? Tell me all about it.
yeah, I am an accountant, so I use spreadsheets very liberally every day. As far as how I have learned, I started learning a lot of Excel just by being at work and going, I bet you I could use Excel to make this go faster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, 15-minute YouTube videos on what you need to do in Excel are your lifeline. That is how I have learned 90% of my stuff. I did take a course in English. I did take a class within the course of my studies on Excel, and I was
Mm-hmm.
almost a little disappointed because I didn't get to learn as much as I was hoping to learn. Those YouTube videos taught me a lot more than I think I gave them credit for.
Yeah, most of my spreadsheet education has been due to online sources. So,
I mean,
um,
I'm a big proponent of you learn things best when you have a problem that you need to learn how to solve it. Not just, I mean, being in the classroom's great and everything, but having an actual real world application, like a need for it, helps you learn it better.
yes, I agree. Um, I told you before we hit record here that I am a Google Sheets guy at this point, and I've moved away from Excel. The only reason I have done that is because I don't want to fucking pay for the Microsoft suite when I can do 80% of what I need or what the power is off of the Google suite, which is free. And if I can be honest, I have become it's similar enough and I've become familiar enough with the limitations that I can operate within it. I'm not doing hardcore accounting, right? Or creating graphs and charts for tracking scientific data. Uh, That's where Excel I would have to lean on that. At this point, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons and running a podcast. And so like I don't need much more than that out of my spreadsheets at this point. But I do miss Excel. I became an Excel nerd a long ass time ago. So
No, I definitely understand. When it comes to my job, I mean, my employer pays for my Excel, so good because I use some of those functions that are in Excel and are not in Google Sheets while I'm working. Um, as for just my at-home use, since I am a student, I do have access through my school for Excel, which is nice. Um, and that's about it. I mean, Google Sheets is good enough generally for anything that you'd need. I
yeah,
mean, unless you're really get, most people do not need macros, most people do not need Power Query. You are fine with Google Sheets.
yes. So um, I am going to kill my video here and just share the screen moving forward so that I can bring in the different spreadsheets so we can start talking about them if you're ready. Is there anything else you want to preface before we jump into this?
No, well, okay, I have one thing that I will add. My boyfriend pointed out to me that this is probably the nerdiest thing I will ever do, where I'm going on a D&D podcast to talk about Excel and spreadsheets.
He's not wrong, and unfortunately, this isn't even the nerdiest thing I've done this week. So here we
Oh,
are.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I will explain on the last spreadsheet that I share with you just how deep my spreadsheet nerdism goes. Um, all right, so let's share the screen here. Can you see it?
There we go, I can see it.
All right, so this is my incredibly too busy background that I have. Did it disappear?
So are you gonna share this background picture with the Patreon? That way we can all steal it?
Absolutely. I do this for fun sometimes when I'm editing. I'll mess with just creating little backgrounds for myself, just so I've got something to look at and kind of obsess over what are the general themes and whatnot of different series and things. I mess with this shit all the time. So yeah, I'll share that with you. But let's jump into the different things that I use spreadsheets for. So the very first one is, and I'll drag these on as I go. I use spreadsheets for dungeons when I do dungeon crawls. So here we go. Let me bring the first one up. This, I did a series on the homebrew series on Patreon. I did like a mini series in that series about White Plume Mountain and the changes that I made. I'm going to kill my video. I don't know if you can see me at all, but I'm going to kill it. If it will allow me to somehow.
I also found out what was adjusting my microphone. It was Zoom. I told it to knock that shit off real quick.
So yeah, so here we are with a dungeon breakdown, and you can see that I have created all of the things that I need to know at a glance. And this is the power of a spreadsheet: is you get a lot of information in a very small portion of your screen, right? It allows me to sometimes do bullet point. It allows me to sometimes separate some information from others. I find it's a lot easier for me to pick out numbers and whatnot when I've got these little gray lines in between than if I'm just reading off of a blank list. So the way that I do it is I bold the things I want to read out loud, and then I give all of my secret information here afterwards. So White Plume Mountain, I believe so. I homebrewed my own bit, but if we scroll down into this area, one of the famous areas is a 30-foot by 30-foot room with a bunch of large glass globes that are hanging from little silver threads, right? Little wires from the ceiling. And each one, you can't really see what's in it, but they all have stuff. I operate off of my phone. I don't use a laptop at the computer or at the computer at the table. I don't like having a computer there because it eats up a lot of table real estate. So I do just use my phone, and I'm able to cross off things as my players interact with it. There were 9 different spheres. There were things that I wanted to read out to them. And then as they smashed the spheres and went into it, I started to cross off which ones I'd already been through. It's very easy for me to do this. It would have taken forever for me to handwrite it all out and cross it off. And I don't want to mark up my books, right, by crossing shit off in the book or highlighting it or anything. I'm not one of those guys that writes in their D&D books. So this makes it so easy for me to stay organized. Do you use
Yeah.
do you use spreadsheets at all for your dungeon crawls?
I don't, so I just run the modules. I haven't gotten into homebrewing the modules, so I haven't needed to have my little bullet list in my spreadsheet. Um, I mean, I would. This is exactly how I would lay it out if I were to do it that way. I just haven't had the need to do it that way yet.
I've also got, sorry, but I want to point out, I also have my like little wandering random encounters up here in the corner. So when it was time for them to take a short rest, I was able to, punish them. I rolled behind the scenes odd or even. Are they going to get a random encounter? And then I would make them, whoever decided it was time to have a short rest, they would have to roll a d6 to see what's going to come out of the woodwork at them. Right. And all I have to do, no matter where I am in this long ass dungeon, all I have to do is scroll to the top, and there's my random encounters. And it's easy to do on a phone. The other thing that I like about spreadsheets, I'm able to drop spells and stuff into some of the cells. Like I can drop images in. Putting an image in like Google Docs or Word often fucks up your formatting.
I would argue it does more often than not. When was the last time you dropped in a picture and it didn't fuck everything?
Right. And a lot of the times I want things like tables. Like I want, um, I'm giving away all these spoilers, but I want something like this. I created a whole bunch. I homebrewed this a little bit about this passageway that opens up that gets hotter and hotter and hotter as you go. This would have been a list, which would have been a little cumbersome, or a table, which would have fucked up all the formatting in docs, right? But here, it fits nicely within the format, and I can just go to the next area and see what I need to do, right? Um, the other thing too about it is it allows me, so when I did this, I went area by area, and you can see I went 1A, 1B, 2, 3 to the right, 3B, 4, and so on and so forth. But at some point, I need to return to area 2. We jump from area 8 to area 18. That's because when I'm looking at the map, you can go in whatever direction you want, but I gave doors that needed to be unlocked. And so it was very difficult. I find it's a pain in the ass to be flipping back and forth through the book. But here, I can print it all out in order. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then I can just copy and paste large swaths of information and put it in the order where my players are going to interact with it, where we can jump from area 27 to 23 to 9 with just a quick copy paste.
Yeah, you can also, if you felt up to it when you had returned to area 2, you could have linked that in your spreadsheet where you click on it and it scrolls you back up to area 2.
Absolutely. If I was honest, that is the kind of shit that I would do if I was sharing it with people. I wasn't planning on sharing this one, but like for myself on a phone, it's easier to just swipe, right, and move. But I got into, like, this was the end of my whole like act, right? They finished this, and then we went on a hiatus for a little while due to the holidays and whatnot. And so we they opened this area. They went into this room with arches. What's in each arch? The name of the arch, the riddle for it, what the answer to the riddle is. And then once they pass all of the arches, you can see all of these. This is what I read out loud. And this, after I'm done this cell, I stop and let them react. And then I read this and I stop and I let them react. And this controls my pacing as well, right? If they don't react, if they're just like players who sit there and blink at you stupidly sometimes, that's fine. I can move on. But this was so useful for me to control my pacing and to have specific scripted dialogue or descriptions for them. So that's kind of the first main way that I use spreadsheets, because it's very easy. You see, this is simple. It's not complicated. I'm not color coding anything, although I could if I wanted. If I wanted to have, hey, here's a trap. It doesn't take much to bam, trap. Also, putting a delayed blast fireball on the other side of a trap door with a 3-round delay is fucking evil and will fucking piss off your players. So highly recommend.
Well, only if they tell you, hey, that fight was too easy the last session.
I
Then you
get
do
that
that to
complaint.
them.
I get that complaint from a couple of my players, and every once in a while I'll flex on them, and then everybody else just like starts to scream and moan and bitch that now it's too hard. So, there's just no pleasing everybody.
No, not at all.
So this is when I have a dungeon crawl with a map that has the numbers on it that we're all familiar with as dungeon masters, right? And this is how I work my way through it. The next kind of spreadsheet that I use is a little bit more basic. This is my labyrinth spreadsheet. I have one of my players separated. Miek is separated from the rest of the party. Will be for months, and she's in the labyrinth. When she is in the labyrinth, this labyrinth is huge. It's larger than some cities, right? And there's a gigantic minotaur that's like a gargantuan size. It's stomping around in here. But I wanted there to be some specific things. I wanted there to be a bunch of different devils. They're part of a squad called the Ruby Raiders. I wanted to have a section that has been kind of civilized by a bunch of NPCs. It's called Good Haven. I could really clean this up and put borders around it and make it all pretty, but this is all I need from a spreadsheet. Like the amount of information that I have here. I've got Camilla Sims, who is a human female. She's 36 years old. She's a blacksmith and a role model. Everyone looks up to her. These are people that are just lost in the labyrinth that have banded together in a safe place that they are calling Good Haven. There are the Brothers of Fortune, who are three dragon-born triplets. And they are kind of like daredevil extraordinaire kind of feel to them. And then I've got I've got a sexual faith healer. Sexual, by the way, just means that she's like overly like slinky and seductive.
Oh,
Um,
so it's not what the lady mimics were talking about in their draft series then.
God, no, I do not bring that into my D&D. I'm not even going to touch on that in session 0 with people, so it doesn't come into it. But I just wanted to like really like ooze this kind of temptress character and whatnot, because I know that's going to piss Mieka off when all of the men in the room are like, well, she's pretty cool, right? Like we kind of should listen to her, right? And so like I'm adding these things in here, but it's just a quick description, right? Like the Sirius and Gray, because he's a Harengon who is at the end of his life. Wispy and idly seductive. We have hot bounty hunter tiefling named Pursuit. Um, and then we just have some random others. I also have the random encounters. It's a labyrinth. Every once in a while, I make her roll 3 dice. And I have a location, general thing that's in the environment that you can interact with, and then an enemy that could be here. And she rolls. And that's it. You can see I've
Okay,
crossed.
just for fun, I have my 3d20. Let's see what I get.
Sure, yeah.
All right, we're looking at 6, 14, and 7.
So as you're going down through the corridor, before you reach the next intersection, you find the corpse. See, all I have here is evidence of a fight. Right? You find the corpse of one human who's had his helmet crushed in. It's impossible to see his facial features, but off to the side is a 4-fingered hand that is twice the size of a regular human's. You might say it could be an Etten or an ogre. It's impossible to tell, but it's clearly been severed and it's just laying there. There's a large ring on it. The blood that is splattered around the area is dry and a deep brown. This fight would have happened a decent amount of time ago. You're not necessarily in any immediate danger. What's the next thing that you rolled? It was a
14.
6. Just beyond this, you see that there's a very large tent. The tent has been ripped open, and there are there's a bunch of adventuring gear in there that you can go explore. You could go roll some investigation checks and see if you can loot the place. It clearly belongs to this man who had his head caved in. The emblem on his shield is the same as the emblem on the side of the canvas. And what was the last one you rolled?
7, so I'm wondering if he still has a head.
7. So I rolled Grick. So when you would be looting the area, when you are trying to go through it all, I'd get you to roll a perception check as part of that to see if you can feel the trembling underneath your feet. Here comes a Grick, right? And so it's just that easy with the 3d20. And every once in a while, if I burn through about half of these options, then I will create a new list. I'll delete the stuff and then put new options on there. Or we've gone through enough of them that I can remove the crossed off aspect to them and just kind of re-enter them into it, right? So like re-enter them as options on the table. It's so easy for me to manage this, and I can move stuff around as I need. We ran into a bunch of bullywugs. I probably wouldn't run into bullywugs again because we ran into one, and later we ran into three, which is awesome that you managed to roll those right in a row. When I have things like trap written on here, I have a little D6 table. It says all the different kinds of traps as are listed in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. At which point I've got the book beside me, or I've got it open on D&D Beyond. I can get over there at a quick glance, say, all right, this is the one that I want to use because I've read through them before. And it just gives me the opportunity to make this entire labyrinth that she's been in for about 5 sessions, we're going to be in for another 5, feel very, very real. And as she interacts with these characters and they become NPCs, I highlight them. She has a relationship with them. And that's it. That's all I need to know, right? And then I can move on to the next session. This is how my spreadsheet here. And when we play, I do play through like over Zoom, and so it is. I've got this on one of my other monitors that I can just glance at. When she says, "Who else is in the room?" I can just glance and say, "This guy, this guy, this guy." Right. So I am excited uh, to add and take away things off of this spreadsheet all of the time as I'm DMing. And it's very, very easy for me to go on there. And if I misspeak, which I did, these were all different ages. They were brothers originally. She said, "How old are they?" And I went, 21. And she said, "Oh, they're all 21. Are they triplets?" And it was easy for me to say, "Yep." And just 21, 21, 21. Yes, they're all triplets, right?
Yes. Do they are they identical triplets? Oh wait, I guess are Dragonborn born or are they hatched? Here's the real question.
Well, they're dragon born, not dragon hatched, or not human hatched. They're dragon born.
You got me there. Okay, okay.
So they are not identical triplets. They are in descending order of size. Flammic is smaller than, still large, but smaller than the others. And Argith is an absolute fucking behemoth of a humanoid. So, um,
So
and
I think I'm just gonna take this spreadsheet and steal it and just use exactly as it is for the city of Sharn.
fucking why not, right? Like this, there's not a whole bunch different here, and like you can have these be the alleyways, right, instead of a labyrinth, right? Like there's maybe I
Some
wouldn't have
may say Sharn is a labyrinth.
yeah, I might not have a giant goose running around, but fuck, why not? Maybe in some areas. So um so that is how we've gone from, planning and using an actual like dungeon crawl to then just coming up with general notes for an overall area. This is also how I attack cities. Um, when I need to just have, I don't mean a village or a town that I meticulously plan out like I do with Andre uh, on his episodes, or I think I did it with Robert at one point as well. Um, but when I just need like a massive metropolitan area that they may explore, I will just come up with lists of here's 7 or 8 shops that I know, here are the NPCs they may run into. There are going to be a couple of organizations that they're going to see. This is the temple. I expect they'll go in there, so I'm going to populate with a couple of people with a very basic description, right? I don't need to go into any more than that, really, right? So
Yeah,
and
no, absolutely. I love how you just have your spreadsheets as the collection of your thoughts. These are the random tables. This is just your notes.
exactly. But this is all I need. And a glance at my phone or at the screen if I'm on Zoom um, gives me everything I need. When I need things to be more random, when I'm not doing something that's planned in a dungeon crawl, when I'm not just kind of giving an overview of an area, I will deal with my random encounters. And the way that I've done this, and I've shared this on the Patreon before, but this is what it looks like, is how many days have passed on the road, how many hours have passed, because it's not perfect. the way that we roll, because you can't roll a 1, 2, or 3, and there's too many options. There are some rerolls. Um, the intensity, the encounter type, and then you can see strangers, fellow travelers. We were moving through a lot of jungles. In the jungle, it would be, the creatures there as well as the environments, and you can see it's by intensity. I came up with, I don't know why items is over there, but rivers and urban and marsh environments as well. I find that if I stick to saying grasslands and forests and swamps, it feels too D&D. So I give different, like river instead of coast, marsh instead of swamp, jungle instead of forest, right? So just it made it a little bit more fun. This whole thing took me about an hour and a half to do, and I've
Oh
been using
yeah,
it for years.
I believe it. I believe it. Although I do know why you have items there because you can just surprise your party with having a +1 longsword stuck in the middle of the road, and they will spend the next hour wondering what's up with that.
Well, what's interesting here is that you'll notice I don't even do that. I have, like, we're going to roll on the magic table. So when they roll, let's say that they rolled a 9. Do you have a set of dice there?
I do. Which
So,
what do you need?
so assuming that you're sitting around a table with a bunch of other players, I would have asked one person to roll 2d4, the next person to roll 4d8, the next person to roll 1d12, and then someone else to roll 1d20, right? And when they give me these, like, they'll all roll together, and then they tell me, all right, this is what we got. And it tells me that, okay, 3 days and 10 hours into this journey, so I have a general idea of the date and the time of day. um, they rolled a medium encounter, and it's going to be an item. So I jump over to items, and I see, okay, medium encounter for items is going to be one of these. So I don't know why it says 3, or G, it should say 3. So Scott, give me a D4 roll.
Let me find my D4. I got a 1.
I'm sorry, did you say you got a 1?
That is correct.
So you'll see that I've got the DMG page there. So I open up the DMG and head over to page 134. And I know already that this is going to be 1,000 gold pieces worth of gemstones. But I'm going to need you to immediately roll a D8 to find out exactly what you got. By the
4.
by the time you tell me, I've got it open and it is sitting here in my hand. You rolled a 4. It's a fire opal that's translucent and fiery red. This is something that you would stumble upon, and this gives me enough information to be like, after a certain amount of time, you would stumble upon a idol abandoned in the jungle. It's covered in moss. It seems to be roughly hewn out of some sort of porous stone, and in the mouth of this snake idol is a fire opal that is gleaming. And I don't know what this means yet. It's just a random thing that you found. It's probably just mundane because it's not magic necessarily, but it's going to be worth 1,000 gold pieces. And it's cool shit that you found in and around where the UNT are that you're tracking, right? Like, it's all right there in front of me, and there's so much information here. If I see that and I go, 1,000 gold pieces, I don't fucking want you guys to have 1,000 gold pieces. It's still going to put me on the same page where there's like 75 gold piece options, right? And you as a player would never know.
Oh, exactly. Or I'd give them the 1,000 gold, and then, a day later they run into like a merchant apprentice who's literally shitting bricks because they just lost 1,000 gold worth of gems.
Yeah. Yeah. And see how your players react to that. Like, the point is there's so many options here. And because my players have seen this, they know that there is a method to the madness and everything is happening for a reason. Even though um it's random encounters, I am not targeting them, right? They happen to roll in a urban environment. They happen to roll a monstrous creature situation, and they find themselves up against a mafia boss. All right, this is a really cool thing that's going to derail my campaign for session and a half, but I'm absolutely on board for this. This is going to be fun and interesting and weird. And I can pull this out of my ass enough that without making it a main feature of my campaign, that it's worth being a random encounter. Otherwise, I wouldn't put it on here. A Wastrolith for a river creature is fucking insane. Especially like they can roll this at any time in any tier and any level. Because sometimes when you get into like, oh, you're up against a rock or against a ghost pirate ship on the river, well, you're level 5. Fucking run. Like the point is not to fight. The point is you have encountered this.
Oh
And my
yeah,
players know this.
you said mafia boss, and I was imagining a level 3 party running into a halfling with a dragon mark, who is a mafia boss. If you
Right.
know your Eberron lore, you know you better be getting the heck out of there.
Right. So I am debating whether or not to continue to do this kind of thing for a couple of specific cities in my campaign where I know they're going to be in the next little while, and take urban and just kind of like tweak it specifically to be the urban environments they find, instead of it being like they come across a guard raid where there's a bunch of town guards raiding an establishment, or a bar brawl, or a heist that they accidentally trip over, a secret cargo that they stumble upon, like whatever it is. um, I would be more specific and say, hey, you would find this person in this tavern, right? Or you're going to find the graffiti from this gang, right? I can be more specific with it. So I'm looking at
Okay.
kind of,
I do want to know urban environment, the urban environs, minor result one. You have a wanted poster. Is this a wanted poster of the party or of someone else that the party is going to spend the next 3 sessions trying to find?
it was specifically for an NPC that the party is on very good terms with.
Oh,
Yeah. Ask more questions. That's it, right? Like, hey, you know this guy you've been traveling with? Yeah. There's a 100 gold piece reward for him. For what? Doesn't say in the poster.
that's a good question now, isn't it? If only you were literally traveling with him and could ask.
Yeah. So that's kind of, like I say, this took me about an hour and a half to come up with, because there is a lot of copy paste in it as well. Um, and there are some things, let's see if I can find a quick example off the top of my head. Um, there are some things that are on two different, like, okay, here's one. For river creatures, a mild encounter is you'll come across a pirate ship. Keeping in mind, they were on a pirate ship, they were pirates at this point. So, like, running across another pirate ship was not a combat encounter necessarily, it was just an encounter. So, they come across another pirate ship. But then on the major, you run across 2 pirate ships. They clearly overpower and outnumber you now. This is a more dangerous situation, right? So there is a lot of copy paste from one to the next, right? And you'll see that out of a mild, if you roll a 1 on the mild, you're still going to run into an anise hag on the as a river creature, right? This is something you're going to run into. This is going to be a major problem because it's a fucking hag, and the most powerful hag that 5th edition had to offer, right? So um but you rolled a 1 on the mild, which means she's not really that interested in you. But if you rolled on the medium and you rolled a 7, it's going to be tougher. She's going to have a mild interest in you. There's going to be more interaction and um, more of an objective to interacting with you, right? And so, and
Yeah,
that's
like
why
on the mild, like this is her river, but also like she's not gonna waste all of her time policing who comes in, who doesn't. But if you get that on the medium, maybe she is gonna be a little more inclined on who's coming and who isn't.
exactly, right. So this makes it very easy for me to move through. And that's why I have, on the minor, I've got Sahuagins, and then also on the mild, there are Sahuagins. I've got Storm Giants on the major, Frost and Cloud Giants on the medium, right? I've got pirate ships littered throughout, and it goes from pirate ship on the mild, a different pirate ship on the medium, so they're going to be more invested. 2 pirate ships on the major, that's a problem, and then ghost pirates on the monstrous. Like, it's far more intense now. You're probably fucked. The best idea is to run. So, but again, it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. These are just power scaling, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I do like how I feel like the theme that you're having is the lower numbers on the table are less likely to be fights, and the higher numbers are more likely to be fights because an encounter doesn't always have to be a fight.
yeah, yeah, that's just right. And honestly, if you the idea is that if you roll a high number, then this should have a more like a more impactful encounter, right? So that's why, even though a storm giant for river creatures is far more powerful than say a banshee you're going to fight. A storm giant might give you somewhere to rest, right?
Oh
So
yeah, a storm giant, just because you are going down a river doesn't mean a storm giant's gonna fight you.
exactly.
A banshee, on the other hand, yeah, probably.
And like on the major, we have rock, but as a number two, but a number eight on the monstrous. This is the rock flying overhead. Everybody get under, under the deck, and don't make any noise, and hope that it's gonna like it'll pass you by. Maybe you will see evidence
No,
of a T-Rex it just killed and dropped the corpse in the river, right?
seeing that rock is nobody will look like food right now.
Yeah. However, if you roll an eight on the monstrous, it's coming down at once to eat your ship.
Yeah,
You're
you
fucked.
looked like food. You
Yeah.
did not follow the directions previously.
Yeah. And again, this is not about like obvious combat. This is about what is the danger factor that we're dealing with here, right? And um that's going to bring us on to like we can see all the monsters. I've got items. I do want to point out really quickly, I make the differentiation between strangers and fellow travelers. Fellow travelers are your beloved npcs you're actively traveling with. So when you roll on it, they could get a disease, there would be a betrayal, they might offer to do you a favor, tell you a positive rumor that they've heard. They may give you a personal gift or confess a dream. You may be able to change your relationship with them, or they might tell you a secret, right? But strangers on the road, these are probably not combat. These are just creatures that you weren't expecting to run across walking around out here, like livestock. You ran across a corpse or just an abandoned message, even right from a stranger to another stranger. There are beasts of burden, some bunch of fey things. I liked putting Coatl in this because they should just be out there doing good. But the best thing that you can run across is a lesser god. And this is where you would get essentially a quest giver show up, who might be able to heal all your wounds or make you give a sacrifice, depending on what the vibe of the moment is, right? So I usually have two or three lesser gods in my back pocket just to bring out and say, hey, these guys are way more powerful than an archmage. They're essentially immortal and they're going to break bread with you for some reason. So
So now's your chance to impress.
exactly. Dear Mieka, this is not the opportunity to be mouthy as fuck at an NPC.
She's gonna do it anyway.
She's absolutely going to do it anyway. So the next thing that I use spreadsheets for, and probably the one that is going to be least surprising to everybody, is I use it as an NPC tracker. And I populated a city once.
That's a lot of people.
I'm up to line 703. So give or take a couple of these like in between sections. But I populated a city once. I've done this once and I've come back to this is our main city that we have used over and over and over again. Um, this city has been the home base for the party, for multiple parties across multiple campaigns. So I don't regret this. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of it. Um,
But don't just skip straight to this.
no, oh God, no, 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 no. This was this was a winter break where I had literally no work to do, but had to go to the office anyway for 8 days. This is how I filled some time. So
Honestly, that's probably the best thing you could have done with your time.
right? You can see that what I did was I come up with a name, the role, and what I did was I gave myself shorthand. At this point, I was using the different, like the difference between um, the different character classes. And this was so long ago, Rising from the Last War hadn't come out yet, so I wasn't including Artificer even, right? So this was just the different character classes, giving me kind of an idea of their um, overall vibe, I guess, or just a civilian. The level they're at, but you're noticing I'm not putting like, and they know these spells and they can do this thing. Just like, how fucking tough would they be in a fight, right?
Okay, well, most of these your party shouldn't be fighting to start with, so you do not need to know what spells they can cast.
Exactly, right? I've got race. I went with sex instead of gender because I wanted to stay fluid, and like be a little androgynous sometimes, or use the word they for like for lizard folk or things that are not clearly obvious what the sex is, right? So I hit with age. I would not do this with specific numbers anymore. I would do this with kind of age range, ancient, elderly, older adult, middle aged, younger adult, teenager, older child, younger child, baby, right? Because I the players don't give a fuck if the elf is 462 years old. They just need to know, is this an elderly elf, right?
Literally, they do not need to know the exact number, and if your players are like mine, half the time they're going to give them a nickname that's close to their actual name, and they will call them nothing else.
Exactly. So AC and hit points was done completely after the fact, where I was just like, you know what? My guy's a little murder hobo-y. I should probably know this to some degree, right?
Well, and you also had 8 days of work of doing absolutely fuck nothing. Like, you had the time for this.
Yes. And I want you to know that I would sit there and I would look at whatever the class was and go, okay, that's a D8. And I pulled up a random number generator between 1 and 8, roll blank number of times. There we go. This is the number. Like I was not crunching hard math on this. I was just populating numbers. Um, I gave all 6 of the stats because it's useful for me to be able to roll saves, and then some origin because it really mattered at this point in the campaign. Um, and this was actually whether or not they'd been kidnapped. At one point, I added an extra thing, so a bunch of the characters got kidnapped.
Okay, you labeled that on your little chart as M, and I thought that meant met, as if have they met this person? That is if they have been kidnapped.
Yes, yeah, they met a number. So there are some that are italicized. Their names are italicized. Those are the ones that the players really fucking care about.
Okay, now when you say if they've been kidnapped, was this by the party or the bad guys?
They came back from a mission and found that the majority of the town had been in like absolute chaos because a lot of the leaders and some of the most beloved people had been kidnapped by the enemy. There was a raid and everyone.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You had said that you gave them all stats because your party were murder hobos, and then said this is if they were kidnapped, and I kind of linked the two when I shouldn't have, and I got very worried.
Yeah, so I you can see like I gave this is by sections. Who are the spiritual leaders in here? Um, all these service jobs, banker, barmaid, handmaiden, executioner, nurse, page, scribe. Right. We had a steward for our tree of life, which was in the just outside of town. Like I even had an undertaker in this. So um, it was fun to populate this. Everyday Heroes Incorporated was a adventuring guild that was going up against the party, and they would run into different squads on a regular. So um, all the guards that I wanted to know, and they were day and night. So who you're likely to run into on what time of day. Strike teams, with these were essentially the military. And then we had just a bunch of fucking farmers, mostly human. Um, bunch, and then other resources as well. Like these are farmers, but also fishers, gardeners, millers, miners as well, more miners. And as you can see, I just went like general laborers, spies, and adventurers. These are people they could talk to, and you can tell they did this a lot because they had to kidnap a bunch of them. They were doing too much. Um,
They knew too much.
yeah, the actual important mounts and pets for the party, and you can see like the in brackets are the character names. So who owns what? Incidentally, Mr. Box the fourth. I think at this point they're at Mr. Box the 38th. Mr. Box is a chicken that um, their beloved NPC goblin named Yormi just wanted a pet because everyone else got a pet, and so he just picked up a random chicken, called him Mr. Box, and then accidentally killed him. And it was a regular thing where even though the chicken was, you can see, female, they were all Mr. Box, and he just kept fucking killing them by accident. He would sit on them or hug them too tightly, and this is an ongoing gag that we were playing with. So
Did you make the party attend the funeral for every Mr. Box?
no, but our barbarian did try to eat one of the chickens, the dead chickens once, and it was a
Uh-uh.
crisis that we had to do.
Nope. You do not do that.
No.
Bad
So
barbarian. Where's the spray bottle?
so peacekeepers, entertainers, and then I went into like I had a very robust orphanage with many, many children. Where we were in a wartime at this point, so lots of children were orphans.
Okay. I was
Uh,
just concerned that you spent that much time building an orphanage with
I
that many orphans.
if I can be honest, I just random name generator and just started plugging them in. You can tell most of them are human, right? So, um, and then we had merchants because of course they're going to want a bunch of stuff. You'll notice that I focused more on the different kinds of merchants that they could run into. I have a different kind of list now for that, but and then the schoolhouse as well because they were getting a lot of their like squires and stuff from this area as well. They had a vested interest in the schoolhouse for this portion because they had rescued a bunch of
Okay, I didn't
students.
notice it. I did not notice it with the orphanage, but I noticed it with the schoolhouse. Only one person of the schoolhouse was kidnapped, and it was a teacher. You were not putting children in kidnapped.
Yep, you see the orphanage.
Not a single person on that orphanage was kidnapped.
Right. Merchants, yes, absolutely. Entertainers, all of the peacekeepers, so sheriff, deputy, jailer, prison guard, like there was a purpose for this. The spies and adventurers kidnapped. Mounts and pets, no. I also came up with like total sidebar here, but I came up with 7. They ran across a Medusa and they figured out how to change some people back, but they ran out of the ability to do so. So there are 7 statues of people that are trapped in their statue form, and they were trying to find a way to save them, but they don't know anything about them. So they just brought the statues back to their city, tucked them away in a storage closet, said, "We'll get back to this," and they never fucking did. So long since forgotten. But I put them in because they may end up being someone later. I didn't
How
even bother to fill
fun.
it out though because I knew it would take a while.
I mean, maybe even like they're the coalition of big bad evils in the next campaign is they got unstoned and now they're pissed.
One of them was an ox, by the way.
Listen, the ox can be pissed. I ain't judging.
The next thing that I do, and this is just an organizational thing for spreadsheets. I don't want to talk too much about my own personal campaign, but you can see this was what I figured would be the necessary information to run a city worth of NPCs. We're going into the farmland. I want to talk to a farmer. Who do I talk to? Is there anyone in particular that you want to talk to? No, not particularly. Okay, then you can find Enmilla Jilkers. I can see it's organized by last name. So we've got 2, 36 and 26. They're sisters. And they
Actually,
are
you can't
farmers,
talk to them. They've been kidnapped. Sorry.
right? Um, but here we go. And most of them are paladins or rangers because the paladins are focused on providing for the community. The rangers, I could have written in druid, are focused more with the farming and resources side of it, right? Like that's it. That's all I need to know on this. And so they could go talk to these these people, see what information they know. So um, the next organizational thing that I do is I kind of track the big campaign shit that goes on. I've got blood plagues. You can see blood plagues are listed there. I have creatures of destiny. These are all the potential victims of a blood plague, and the idea is that when one person of a specific playable species, I guess we're calling them now, or like an angel, dragon. What else? I've got other things on here. Anyway, when they would like lycanthropes is another one. If they would catch a blood plague, everyone catches that blood plague and they all die very quickly. So I'm wiping out like genocides, wiping shit out off the map, right? My players have made decisions that have resulted in genocides, and I make them roll on this table. This is how I track it. And every time that they land on one number that they've already rolled before, I make them roll on this as well. So it's really scary for them. I make them roll a D100, right? So so these are the first 25, and then these are the next. So you're more likely to kill off a Kalishtar, all the Kalishtar, all the Kender, all the Verdans and whatnot, right? And so,
Honestly, if you kill off all the Kender, what are we missing?
right, fine, fuck those guys. Um, so I am just now realizing that I don't have. There we go. That I'm missing some in there that I haven't repopulated yet. But like these are the ones that have already been killed off. There are no more troglodytes, grung, plasmoids, kenkus. Kenku's hurt. They lost a bunch of beloved NPCs on that one. We only have 3 gnomes in all of existence because they were in demiplanes when the gnomish blood plague hit. So, and then if I'm being particularly nasty, I will just make them roll a d10 and pick off one of these ones next. So,
Okay, I do. I have been laughing about it since you pulled this up. The fact that for the blood plague, you have the Yuan Ti pure blood. How pure is that blood now if you're dying of the blood plague?
I actually should read all UNT, but I was just pulling it out of like the options that were in the books, the playable options at that point. At some point, I gave up right around Spelljammer because we'd have auto gnomes on here. I think, yeah, there's auto
I
gnomes.
don't see Warforged. Oh, there are autonomes. How
Yeah,
do you, okay. So
well,
you have the two things that really don't have much blood on the blood plague.
well, I argue that Warforged do have blood. They
What
have,
is it, motor oil?
well, again, and this is a point of fucking contention in 5th edition. At this point in D&D, Warforged have organic wood and stone and metal like body parts, which means they're not actually wood, stone, and metal. They're actually organic. So their blood may resemble motor oil or hydronic fluid or whatever, but it is blood, right? So they can
You
get sick and
know,
die.
I would tell my players if they want to get into this is make believe, and I'm an accountant. We're not doing an anatomy lesson.
Yeah. Also, the fact that the blood plagues are spurned on by god level magic. So if the
So
fucking tea
just
kettle,
fuck you. I mean, come on.
yeah, if the tea kettle starts spewing blood out of the spout and all tea kettles around the entire realm burst and there's no more tea kettles, that's god shit. If I can do it to a tea kettle, I can do it to an auto gnome. So
You know what? Amen. This is your campaign, and if it's a god doing that, then
yeah,
bullshit fantasy hand waving.
there we go. So I do keep track of and I've got a bunch of spreadsheets like this, which like here's my campaign notes. And every once in a while I've got to come back to this and say, all right, roll again on the list. But I don't have to flip through a binder. I don't have to scroll through pages and pages of a Word document. And I can have things like multiple tabs down at the bottom, right, to see how they want to roll, right? So if I want to mix it up and change it for specific things. Um, Give me a D100 roll right now, Scott.
Okay, let me get my D100. Sorry, I have too many sets of dice in this. It's my what I roll with when I DM.
Fair enough.
All right, we are looking at 15. Who did I just kill?
I don't know. Roll a D12 because you're in section one because you rolled
Oh, okay, a
D160.
12.
A 12. All wood elves just died.
No, 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 no. That was the D12. I rolled a 3, so all
Oh,
the
you rolled a
dwarfs
three.
just died.
Every dwarf.
How many centuries is it going to take us to go underground to figure out that they're all dead?
Well, you just need to go to the nearest brewer because that's where you're going to find your closest dwarf.
The world is in shambles. All the good beer is gone now.
God, alcoholics everywhere, just jumping off of rooftops. Um, so yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I would make them roll when I want them to feel the impact of the blood plague. I would come over to this. So I've got different tabs for the same kind of general idea, and I can't do that without scrolling around on a fucking Word document or flipping through 90 goddamn pages of my notes, right? I But a spreadsheet, all that info is at my fingertips.
Look, I'm half pretentious enough to set up a formula so that way I just have to type in the number they rolled and then it would automatically give me the result.
Oh shit. Yeah, that'll work. The next thing that I did, and this is over the top. I want you to know that my realm was a closed, locked realm without any chaos. It was an infinite world of only humans. There was no magic and no gods. There are no monsters. It was humans, plants, and beasts. And not even like plant monsters, just trees and grass and flowers and shit. And so the idea was that the weather patterns were actually the same every day of the year, and they had constructed an entire year based on the repetition of the weather patterns. So I created a calendar for them. This is something that I require a spreadsheet to be able to do. I gave it a new month. I gave it every one of the days of the week had a different name. A lot of them are named after the gods in this world as well. I gave each one a number and then what the expectation is for the weather. Now the point here is that I'm going to fuck this up and chaos is going to reign supreme, and now it's suddenly we cannot rely on this anymore. It's going to create chaos in the realm, right? But we can see I plotted out an entire year worth of weather patterns, and then I gave myself color coding for when it's going to be dangerous to travel. And I handed this out to the players. There's always a hurricane on these 2 days. There's always a heat wave on these days, right? And we're in a drought season here, right? And so you can see that after the heat wave, when after it's stormy and then it rains for a little bit, we have a festival. We can go hunting again because the animals have come out, right? So, and I've got these
And then it
last
goes back to hot and it's muggy.
yeah, yep. And so you can see that I've got the final day, the 10th day is always a day off. That's what the gray means. These are the festivals. These are days off that people have for various reasons. And we get into the blizzard at the end of the year that then kicks us off all the way through to the beginning. And then we've got the returning festival, right? And the day off or everyone has to do repairs after the blizzards and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of reasons in the world for some of these random days off, like this one. Um, but like the gale force winds, everyone gets a day off to do repairs. We come together as a community to help people, right? So um, so I gave this to my players. On my version, it says this month is called Shift, but here it's called Shift, the season of water. And then there's the season of love, season of wind, the season of warmth, season of plenty, and the season of cold. And so this is I couldn't do this. I'm not saying everyone should build a calendar. This is insane. And it
Oh
was
yeah.
very
I
specific for
I
my
would
campaign.
never build a calendar, with the exception of I'm just gonna ramble a little bit if you'll let me.
Yeah.
Um, in Pathfinder, there's a city, Alkenstar, which is very technological focused. They're the city with the most firearms because they are in the Mana Waste, which is a magical wasteland. And in the lore, you kind of have to build it yourself, but it's kind of there. There's a calendar of different types of magic will react to the essentially the magic storms going on. And some types of magic will do like wild magic tables, and some types will just not work. And it's all built on a calendar.
Yeah. That's a good use for that. If you wanted to build like a zodiac calendar too, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. Well, and like with Alkenstar, it's just like, oh, for a week, you can't use abjuration magic. It just won't work. And if you use transmutation, you're rolling on wild magic.
yeah, makes sense to me. Like, there are uses for a calendar. And this is where it ends for me. Like, I've shown a lot of the D&D kind of notes that I use a spreadsheet for. But if you'll allow me really quickly, I told you that I really appreciate the power of a calendar and I rely on it for podcasting. And for example, I send out schedules. I send out schedules all of the time. They get updated about every 2 or 3 weeks based on people's availability. I keep my notes, how many episodes we're on in the span of a month, including you, Platinum Great Worms,
Hey, there's me. Why am I the one that says zero?
because you are over here. You're one of
That's
the,
fair.
yeah.
Well, you originally scheduled me for last week, but I won't be mad about it.
But you'll see that I was, and then I pushed you over, right? Um, so like I've got my notes about Brad can only record once a month. Charlie can only do it once a month and only on weekends, right? And so like everybody's availability off to the side. The number of days I aim for recording in the span of a month as well. I use, and you'll see what I've done is I'm counting as well. Here's where my formulas are coming into to play, right? I count if there's anything in these cells, and that way I can move my stuff around and get a new concept of what my count is. So how many days, how many episodes we're all on. You can see um, that Elwyn, for example, is on 2 this month, right? And I'm just counting, does her name appear anywhere by using the count if formula, right?
Oh,
Um,
and you also have wildcards in there, which is something that Google Sheets sets up different than Excel because I noticed in the formula, Excel would make me type that in differently.
Yes. So yeah, so I use this. This is my method for keeping organized for scheduling for the podcast. You can see that I've got release dates in here. I've got, depending on where we are, what the topic is of the recording, when we're going to do it, where we're going to do it. Sometimes they're online, um, and so we keep track this way. And
For
I've
no
got,
particular reason, scroll down a little bit.
oh
Where's
yeah,
W022? Where's this episode coming out?
oh let me see. That's 20,
Mm-hmm. I see
22.
21,
Yeah.
22. Oh, April 1st. April Fool. No, that's not it.
No, 22. There you go, April 8th.
Okay. Oh, look, April 9th is my boyfriend and, of course, his brother's birthday.
Oh, well, there you
Yay.
go. Tell them happy birthday. They can listen to your voice.
Happy early birthday, Andy and Joe.
There you go. Um, so yeah, so this is how we stay organized. My all of the hosts are used to seeing this. I send this out. I also have a version of this that I send out to the editors. You can see, you know, who's editing what and when. Um, and and you can see I'm purple. I do all of the editing. The best part is that I do all this while I'm at work, right? So I can just keep one ear on it. So it's a pretty simple, easy way of staying organized. But I can get more noodly and see, who's at capacity in any given month and who's beyond capacity. I also have things like what order I'm going to release some things in, like all of the announcement episodes where we're doing the Meet the DM stuff, keeping track of which legend lore episodes cover which topics and whatnot. So I've got a lot of tracking that I do with spreadsheets for the podcast. And then when it comes to the actual episode planning, I can have a list. And this is the brilliant part that we haven't talked about yet is, of course, anyone who knows anything about spreadsheets knows that you can do some basic organization and you can just bloop, take a look at all of the different things in what order and so on and so forth, right? Like which
Okay, but
episodes.
that last one you have there, what is the new format? I'm very curious in because you mentioned it and I don't know what it is yet.
Yay. You'll also see giveaways. Um, the giveaways have actually been pushed, but we're going to start doing giveaways in the future. So there you go. That's
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Listen, I've already won the giveaways for trivia. You beat me in this last round of trivia, so whatever.
I mean, it's not fair. I run a D&D podcast. I research D&D all the time. Like
Dude,
it's not fair.
I play Pathfinder and
That's
I got second place. I just get participation points. Like Robert's already admit that I get 2 points for participating, and apparently not a lot of people participate that much, and it makes me mad.
well, I think that not everybody does it every day, right? So all you need to do is be consistent.
Oh no, literally, when he first did the prizes, I think I had missed one, maybe 2 days.
Oh yeah? Oh
Oh
shit.
yeah. Oh yeah, if anything, I am consistent. 95% of the answers I give are bullshit and don't make sense because I don't fucking know what happened with the modules in the 80s, but I still play.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if you get one or two every day and someone gets all five right once a week, you're gonna beat them, right? So
Yep.
my problem is that all of the trivia takes place either when I am driving home from work or when I am mad prepping for a recording that's about to come up or something. Right? Like
So
it's just,
I'm gonna tell you what my boyfriend tells me. Did you know that you actually have 24 hours to send your answers in?
oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He gives you the questions and then in 24 hours says, here's the answers. So there is time throughout the. I hate it when Joe tells me that. Like, my guy, I have gotten in my habit of answering it right after he says trivia reminder.
exactly. That is why we have the trivia reminder period. So um anyway, so back to this. I do a lot of tracking and stuff as well. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but you can see the tabs down at the bottom. I've got all like login. This is all my important info. Login info for all of the It's a Mimic stuff. What our budgets are for the next 3 years. Um, the color codes. I'll show you this that we use for the graphics. Like moving forward, these are going to be all of the different color codes that we use. Track people's birthdays. This one's my favorite. This is time spent. How long each episode is and who was on it. And then I at the very bottom keep track of who's been on the most episodes, how many episodes we've done, and who's got the most time logged in on episodes.
See, this is the shit that I love. Oh my God.
That's why I included at the end of this episode because I wanted you to see like this is the fucking nonsense. This
Just
is what I love spreadsheets for. And it's pretty wild because there's some things that are just like kind of shocking to me. When you get into these kind of big numbers. For example, like Dave has been on 16% of the episodes, but 18% of the airtime. Terry's been on 28% of the episodes, but 33% of the airtime. Megan has done more episodes by 21, but has been on less airtime than Terry at this point. Right? Like it's just,
interesting.
yeah,
That's
every
probably
once in a
because the
while.
early episodes you guys spent more time just doing whatever, and by the time Megan was dialed in to all of her extra series, girl, she knew the format.
Yeah, and all of her episodes are between like 45 and an hour and 15. All of those specials. Undead, Drow, Giants, they're all relatively short compared to those 2 hour monster epic episodes we were doing for a while there, right? So,
They're short because you cut out the descriptions of the drow orgies.
my God. My God. I had to be the only one editing those because I handed them out to a couple people and there was I think Brad's still in therapy.
Listen, you should be. I hope my Patreon subscription can pay for your therapy.
Fuck, tell me about it. Um So yeah, so you can see like I'm tracking, and all the gray ones are frozen because we don't have them. They're not hosts anymore. So people are moving through. It's always like they're always shocked when I like, hey, Tyler, you've been on 10% of the airtime of It's a Mimic. He's like, fucking really? Right. And that doesn't include like we go all the way up because there's hundreds of this. We go all the way up to the campaign builder. And like I haven't even added the last bunch yet, right? So
Let the record show for those who aren't looking at YouTube, the table of episodes goes all the way down to line 700.
yeah. Well, we've done 704 episodes, right? So
Yeah.
um also for those that can't see, we have another many episodes of the Call of Cthulhu stuff that is just sitting there blank, ready to get filled in. The recordings are done; they just need to be fucked with. The problem is that there's such an undertaking. So, but they're sitting there; they're on the hard drive, waiting to go. So, yeah. So I do a lot of tracking, right? I keep track of what the different what I call in my head special episodes. These are the ones that sit outside of our regular run. Um, like actual plays that we're going to start doing again in October, which are going to be great. Like we've got all the mailbags and things, and so this is how I track a lot of it. Um, and I'm going to stop clicking. Oh, and also, who's got my fucking books?
I love that. You have an entire page of your spreadsheet of who the fuck has my books.
To be fair, for those that can't see it, there's only 6 items on this right now, but there used to be like 21. So, um, so anyway, yeah. So
Also, for those that can't see it, Dan fucking has half of them.
yeah, well, I mean, Dan doesn't. Dan, I don't see Dan anymore, right? Like his life has become so busy that he really only contacts me to hang out and then ghosts me on the day, and then shows up for D&D as if nothing happened. That's my interactions with Dan these days because he's so fucking busy. 3 kids
Dan
and
is
owning your own
so lucky that
business.
you like him.
Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, let's say all that.
Sure. So we'll go with that. We'll go
Yeah.
with that.
So the last thing, and this is a personal thing, and this is actually it used to be in an Excel spreadsheet when I knew I was going to lose access to Excel because I was going to be leaving my job. I moved it over into Google Sheets, and I've been tracking it. This is probably my longest running spreadsheet that I've been playing with. Um, and this is kind of where I started to learn how to play a little bit deeper. This is called Movies I've Seen in Theaters from 2007 until the present.
You
And
know what? You got to start somewhere.
I track the title of it, the year it came out, the genre. Is it a franchise film? If I saw it with Charlie, if I saw it with Mieka, and how many stars I gave it immediately walking out of the theater without any reflection.
You gave The Fantastic Four, which came out in 2005, a 1.5 star after you got to see, cut this part because I have to remember his name. Um, which Ryan is it
Which Ryan?
that plays the Human Torch?
Oh, no, that's Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. It's a Chris, not a Ryan. My bad.
First of
You
all,
gave this you gave this movie a 1.5 after getting to see Chris Evans holding a pink jacket over everything. Do you know what that did for the gay community?
it was this is the 2015, so it's
That's
not the Chris Evans one.
2015. That's not even the 2005. What the hell?
Yeah, this was the remake with
I
was
blame the whiskey.
with Michael B. Jordan in it. So yeah, so no. I saw that. I did see that one in theaters, but it was before I was tracking. So
You're allowed to give the 2015 one a 1.5 stars, but the 2005 one you have to give better.
I actually really enjoyed it, and I will defend it for the era it came out. It was pretty freaking solid. But
I don't think you understand how many people's gay awakening that movie was.
yeah, you're right. I don't understand.
You do not know. It did a
Um,
lot for a lot of us.
and so yeah, so I went through, and you can see like there are some that I'm I am fucking Slender Man, solid zero. Man, do I have some rants about that movie, which we don't have time for today. But I went through this whole thing all the way through in alphabetical order. And every time I see a movie, I immediately hop in here the moment I get home and bang, there we go, into the list. And then I started to play with extracting some of the info. So I figured this is the kind of shit that you would nerd out about as well, because I do like to make little charts and stuff on the side. I don't do it because it clutters my actual D&D stuff, but for my own tracking and my own purposes, I like making the little graphs and charts and having kind of summary areas as well. I've seen 281 separate films in theaters in the last, God, what is that, 18 years? Um, and a lot of them I saw multiple times in theaters.
And you've only seen 55 of them with your wife.
Well, you think about the fact that we did the math. We have only been in each other's presence physically for a year and 1.5 months because we've been long distance. So 55 in a year is one every 6 days or so.
Listen, I'm just giving you shit. I fully know that you lived in Canada and she lived in the United States. For how many years have you guys been together?
Yeah, like it's pretty like I'm impressed with the number of 55. It's a little insane. Unfortunately, a lot of them are that we see are just so that we can go to the movies. So we see a lot of shit. Um, but you can also tell that I tend to go see movies that I am probably going to like a little bit more than average, right? So
That's fair. You're sitting between 3.5 to 2.5 stars for most of the movies you see.
yeah, yeah. So and you can also tell 2020 was a pandemic year, and it's early in 2025. I haven't seen much yet. So
So you were saying earlier with one of your spreadsheets that you have it up on your other monitor as you play over Zoom with Mieka. So how's that going to change now that y'all live together?
well, I'm not going to have a separate one with Mieka anymore. She will rejoin the D&D group. So I will just do that with the way that I've been dealing it with the others. So as I kill all of these
Is she
tables,
not still stuck in the labyrinth?
she's going to be in the labyrinth until the day. Not in, like exactly, but the labyrinth is kind of where she's going to be until she moves up here. And to get a little personal for a moment, we are struggling. There's so many parts of the application process. We spend one evening a week purely on the application process. We've been doing it for weeks now, and we're a little over halfway done. Once we're done the sponsorship and application process, and we have submitted it, we've already paid for everything. We're waiting on things like photos. She has to get fingerprinted by the FBI. Like, there's a lot of shit that has to go into this.
Oh, I
Uh,
get that. My boyfriend works for public schools. He also had to get fingerprinted by the FBI.
yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it. Once we have it all done and the whole package is completely submitted, it's supposed to be between 3 and 6 months until she's here. There are people, she's part of a Facebook group of people that have done exactly the process we're going through, and the current turnaround rate right now is 2 months. So it's actually faster. Surprisingly, the governments are working faster than they're supposed to.
That's
um,
rare.
yeah, right. We'll see how much this gets complicated between the US and Canada having a complicated relationship at the moment. But
Listen, that's the last thing I want to talk about on my episode is what's going on here. So we're just going to continue. But I am so sorry. I thought that in the shit, it's been almost 4 months now since you guys had your wedding. I
well,
thought,
no, we got married last June. We
oh, you're
technically,
right. You got married on paper
yeah,
early.
yeah, about 8 months ago, and we've been struggling through this process. So once it's all done, we have the whole thing submitted. She comes here. Like, we'll have to wait a couple of months, and she will rejoin the campaign. She plays D&D every other week, and the main party plays on the opposite weeks, right? So I expect that she probably has somewhere in the range of 12 sessions before she rejoins the party. She'll probably level a couple of more times. We're going to spend the majority of that time in this labyrinth, and this sheet is going to just start to blow up. right? There's going to be more and more tabs.
I can already see it when she comes back. The thing she's gonna say, y'all would not believe the shit I have been through.
Well, because I know none of my players actually listen to this at all, the main party has been dealing with gods. They have fought, the last time that Mieko was with them, they fought Lolth, and it was a draw. They all
What
had
level are they? How do
at
you
the
draw with LOL?
they pulled a draw with Lolth by summoning a god to fight her at level 6. Um, and it completely blew up the building that they were in, and they all got shunted off into extra dimensional space, and then they appeared, elsewhere. So like this was a big deal. They
Oh, so what I hear is they cheated. They didn't draw with Lolth. They summoned someone who drawed with Lolth.
well, they banished her out of their city, and she was there, eating people. So um and they were fighting driders and everything else. They had a little war. They were level 6 at the time. It was very intense. By the time they're all level 8 now, by the time they meet up, they'll be level 9, probably, maybe level 10. And Mieko will join the campaign permanently by then. And but she'll spend a lot of this time. She is dealing right now with a lot of things, a lot of characters that are not on this list, that are from previous campaigns, are down here on this level. And every couple of sessions, she will interact with one of them and see if they want to join her. When they do join her, they will, and as most of them do, right? So she's going to show up with a bunch of NPCs in tow that the rest of the
She's
party.
that girl. She builds her entourage. I get it. I get it. We
Oh,
talked about it last time.
yeah, absolutely. And the rest of the party will be blown away that look at all these NPCs that are back, because they all played in that campaign and she didn't. So this is her introduction to these NPCs, so that when these NPCs are going to be important later in the campaign, everyone has an emotional tie to them now. The rest of the party has just fucked around with Vecna and Strahd. Cass, the Betrayer, is traveling with them right now. And there's a lot of really impactful, like, plot stuff they've gone through. So when Mieka's character rejoins the campaign, they're going to be like, yeah, we've done this. They've allied with Vecna. She doesn't know this, and she's going to be fucking pissed, right? But at the same time, she has pieced together a whole bunch of bits and pieces of lore that I've given her. I've given the other half of the puzzle pieces to the rest of the party. We'll see how they communicate to make the whole picture come together,
You're
right?
just playing 4D chess with this.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it really fucking helps that I have a long distance relationship right now, where I can kind of spend a little time poking at spreadsheets and maps and character art and stuff, to build what I want. When I'm living with my wife and we've got things to do, like shopping, like when we are going to, when she wants to go out for a Starbies, I will go with her, of course, and we will have like a day out. Whereas normally I'm just sitting here on my computer going, I'm listening to one episode, editing it in the background, going, yeah, what if I added 6 spine devils to the labyrinth? Yeah, right. So I'm masterminding right now, and I'm trying to get my whole campaign set up so that the second half of the campaign, when we're all together, I can just autopilot my way through it. So anyway, any more thoughts about spreadsheets and organization? Anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap this episode up?
So there are two things for use of spreadsheets that I know of that we have not talked about. One, it's the whiskey, can you tell?
What time is it there?
At 12:42.
In the afternoon, right? Yeah.
I'm an hour ahead of you.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday and it's past noon and I'm drunk. Fucking sue me, okay?
What else are you gonna do in February? Fuck.
Literally, fuck. Okay, where was I? Oh yes. There are two more applications for a spreadsheet that we have not talked about yet. One of them I talked with Robert about, where he said that he used specifically for Strahd was a combat tracker. Now,
Yes.
I do not use spreadsheets to track combat stuff. I am very much I want a pen and paper. I'm gonna cross shit out. I'm gonna write their new HP. And in specifically Pathfinder, there's like 8 different ways you can change their AC.
Yeah.
I'm a pen and paper girly with that. I do not want to pull up my spreadsheet, but I understand the want to do a combat tracker because like some people, Strahd, trolls, have regeneration. Very easy to build your spreadsheet, have every round they add HP, but then you can track who all does damage and how much damage. Super easy to do, right?
The other thing about it too is you can track what kind of damage, damage types you can track. It's very easy to grab an entire line and say, hey, they've moved an initiative. I can just cut and paste and move them somewhere else on a spreadsheet, right? It's very,
Totally
very,
agree.
very easy to manipulate the order of things. And
If if you're on a computer.
if
If
you're on
you're
a,
like the two of us who don't like to have a computer for our sessions, I also will just have my phone. It's not as easy for me to manipulate a spreadsheet as it is on a computer on a phone. I hope that made sense. Again, whiskey.
it absolutely is. Phones are not nearly as easy to maneuver through. But I'm just really quickly coming up with an initiative tracker right now, where we've got like this person has taken 2 points of damage. This person took 6. This person took 7, but it was fire damage, right? And then what we can do here, if we're organized enough, we can do something like total hit points, and we can have random numbers, and then just start doing a column here where we can do an equation that then just counts all of the numbers so that on round, yeah, and then, for example, blah. Then on round 2, when we start tracking, did they take any damage here? And I guess this person's dead now, right? This is something that I would set up ahead of time with my little equations and whatnot to be able to track this. So I could get like, I'd have like count if things, equations where if we go over this number, then this happens. Like cross out the entire line, or when you can put drop down menus as well to like which conditions they're being affected by, right? There's a lot of power that you can use a spreadsheet for being an initiative. You said there are
Oh
two things.
yeah.
That's one of them.
So yeah, no, and Robert also added with like Strahd has if he's not in sunlight, he regenerates HP. So you can definitely do like a adds HP if none of these columns included radiant damage.
Yeah,
You can do that.
yeah.
Now, for what I have used spreadsheets for is subsystems. Now, I have talked about in my previous episodes how the pre-written module I'm running is about a circus.
Yes.
There's an entire circus subsystem. Now, I did send you the spreadsheet, or I can share my screen. Totally up to you.
Let me bring it up. I always close Discord when we record because these guys like to send memes while we're in the middle of recording, and then it beeps.
Literally, well, you also like to reply while you're getting coffee while I'm using the restroom.
Yeah,
So
well,
I guess it's a wash there.
I
But
just sent a request to you because I can't.
oh, let me open up my Gmail then.
This incidentally is the other reason why I love using Google Sheets and Google Docs, is because it's very easy for me to share information when I'm having meetings with Megan or Tyler about music or art.
All
Um,
right, you should have access.
Now let me try this again. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so there's an entire circus subsystem, and I built a spreadsheet out of this. Um, do not touch my drop downs,
I
Adam.
just wanted to see what your drop down said.
Don't, it says yes or no.
Yeah, but sometimes I was wondering if there was like a maybe.
No, there's not a maybe.
Okay.
So this page kind of, I haven't spent the time to work on this. And I'm going to be honest, part of the reason I haven't spent time to work on specifically this page is because a lot of the complaints about this pre-written adventure is once you hit book 3, the circus goes away because the circus is the introductory subplot, which we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't perfected this. Now you can see there are different spreadsheets with dates of when we had our circuses.
I
With
also kind of want to
10,
point out that Andy is a cost. Made me laugh.
yes. Andy, so the circus, as they perform, of course, they sell tickets and they get money for the tickets. Andy took from his, that's of course my boyfriend's twin brother. Andy took from his personal stash of adventuring gold and paid for the tent expansion for the circus. So because of how I set the formulas for literally click on B1, sell B1,
B1.
and look at the formula I have there.
Good Lord. Loving it. This is what I'm
So
all about.
for those that are curious, I have expressed even on the Discord, but I will share it publicly online. I have thought about getting my expert certification with Excel because I think one, because I think it'd be fun. And two, I would do expert because intermediate would be too easy for me. And
Yeah,
that's me humble bragging.
that wasn't even humble. You
It wasn't. I am an accountant and I fucking love Excel. Fucking come at me, okay?
All right, so I just want to address how fucking beautiful this is. That you I think that you are probably more proficient with spreadsheets in general than I am. My stuff has been very like casual. You know me, I'm going to deep dive and do too much research, but for the most part, this um, this is stuff that I'm familiar with. But God, this
Listen,
is very
I
happy.
bet you're still doing VLOOKUPs, aren't you? You're doing
Uh,
VLOOKUPs, aren't you, Adam?
yeah, a little bit.
No, 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 no. We do X lookups. X lookups are the new version. They replace both V and H lookups because they can do either. X lookups are the way to go.
All right, now I've got some things I need to look into. If we get into this,
Okay, so getting into each individual one, actually go back to the funds and upgrades sheet and scroll horizontally over. We want to see some columns. So with Pathfinder, we do have a standard DC per level, which is in columns X and Y, or yeah, Z, trying again, Y and Z.
yeah,
So with Pathfinder, because you add your level to your proficiency, as you get higher level, things get harder, but you're still going to be very good at the things that you want to be good at, and you're not really going to be good at things that you don't spend the resources in. So as I've mentioned, Pinstripe, which you can see is on the list in column V for performer. Uh, he's an alchemist. He's good at crafting, but he's not good at lying to people. So his crafting modifier is a lot higher than his deception modifier. So it'll be easier for him to meet the DC of level 8 is 24.
okay,
So I have now you see with V and W, I have the performer and what level they are.
yep.
And then with Y and Z, I have the level and the DC. So now if you go back to any of the dates that we had our circuses, Yeah, it's any of the extra tabs. You'll see I have the performer is a drop down for column B. Go to B2 and it should be a drop down. No, because I copied it as plain text. Um, Column C will automatically search who was the performer and add their level. Go to the most recent circus and you'll see it. Because I
Ah,
wouldn't
here
have.
we go. Yeah.
There you go. So you can see there's the whole list of all the performers. If you change it, it changes their level, it changes their DC. The result I have automatically Bo Beauregard as my boyfriend's character.
Do you call him Bobo?
No, I just call him Bo Beauregard. And he's a druid with an alligator called Billiam Beauregard. So there's Bo and Billiam Beauregard.
Jesus.
It's kind of a mouthful. But you can click on like C2 and you'll see I have a formula.
Love it.
Yep, this is all to grab their level, grab their DC, and then I type in their result. And then you can click on F2 or G2.
Holy shit.
I have embedded ifs. And since Pathfinder, so D&D has you crit succeed or crit fail on a nat 20 or a nat 1,
Yeah.
respectively. Pathfinder, you crit fail or crit succeed on 10 over or 10 under the DC, respectively. So for, let's just say the first roll for Bobo Regard, his DC is a 24. Well, he rolled a 33. That was 9 over. So he didn't crit succeed. But for roll 2 in column 3, he rolled a 40, which is over 10 of the DC, over 34. So he crit succeeded. And the whole subsystem has excitement, anticipation. Of course, excitement is how awesome the circus was. Anticipation is how awesome you thought the circus was going to be. Obviously, you want the circus to be more exciting than you thought it was going to be. So, yes, I have a whole spreadsheet built to calculate all of it. And then
Okay.
it goes into the payout.
Do you mind if I change one of these drop downs just to see how shit changes?
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Beauty.
Fireproof Flynn is level 8. You can do Featherfall 5 is level 1. So you can see how the result of 33 definitely changes it.
Yeah.
They're
This is
not going to roll a 33 in any of it.
this is amazing. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. I spent honestly an hour and a half making this, and every time we have a new circus, I just right click on that tab and copy it because I am not redoing it.
Fair. And
So,
that's the other thing too is I do a lot of I would take something like you just copied new tab over, right? So I do a lot of that so I can track my progress because I often will go, especially when it comes to podcast stuff and D&D prep. What was my mentality when I started this? What did I want to do when I started this process? And so going back to previous tabs, I can see kind of the evolution. And again, that's not something you can do in a Word document, right? You can't like you can go check, the changes, the edits that have been made, but getting the snapshot of the whole thing at once, at a glance, Excel and Google Sheets are just more powerful.
oh yeah, and if I kept up on my funds and upgrades, you would be able to take cell K6 and add it all throughout for every single spreadsheet, which is the payout. Because
Okay.
how well they perform in the circus is how much money the circus itself gets. The players don't have access to this money. This is the circus's money. It is meant for upgrades for the circus and
Yeah.
advertising when you go to a new place, all that. I haven't kept up on this because the adventure path doesn't focus on the circus as much at this point. And at this point, I just want to keep them interested in the circus. As you
Yeah.
notice, if you click through the later dates, they started doing duos where each group of three is meant originally to be one performer, but
Gotcha. Yeah.
then they started doing, oh, let's do duos. Let's do two performers for one set. I'm not gonna be mad that they want to do something that's not written in the adventure path. I'm doing air quotes and no one can see it.
Yeah,
It's what got them started with the campaign, and I will do as much as I can to keep it relevant as long as I can.
yeah.
Also, you can see in this one, we had in the build-up, we have the Trixie Pixie. Do you recall?
Oh, I recall.
You recall? Yeah. Uh, I think that's the only one that, yeah, because of the three we made, one of them I didn't introduce, and I think they gave Grandma Whiskers a break this circus because she has so many more kids that she has to take care of. Yeah, you can see in the opener, there's the giant Lancer dancer in this one.
Love it. Love to see it.
They did not know what to think of the old lady rat that does burlesque dancing.
Well, they should have just been throwing ones onto the stage, frankly.
They were throwing more than just ones.
um, oh, this is really cool. I really like this. And again, the power of spreadsheets,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
I,
Like,
I use
uh,
them, and that's kind of the I guess maybe the final point before we wrap this episode up is you can see that I use them primarily for tracking and organization. Um, I use it for planning and for getting a dense amount of information or a lot of information in a very small space to make it very dense, right? And a lot of the times, some of my spreadsheets, like if I were to throw this at Dan, it would stress him the fuck out, even though it's just a list, right? So um, I use them a little bit differently than you do. For yours is an active document that you are working your way through and updating and upgrading as you need to add more features to it, so that you can track and get
well, but
results, outcomes.
also I am running a pre-written module, so I don't
Yes.
have a need to have a whole dungeon there. Yes, is it annoying that I have to flick pages back and forth? Sure. Sure. But it's what? 3, 4 pages? I'm not that inconvenienced that I need to make a whole bullet point list of how I'm changing it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Where
like a whole subsystem with how crits, crit successes, and crit fails impact everything. I took an hour and a half and built a spreadsheet for it, and I just copy and paste, and it will continue to work for me.
yeah. I wish I could show you. This is the kind of stuff that I do at work for a lot of because I'm a estimator, deal with a lot of budgets and stuff at work. And I go a lot deeper, and I do use Excel there. But I can't show you those because it has our financial records in it. But like, I
I'm an
appreciate,
accountant, I get it.
yeah, I fucking appreciate this level of detail, and there's just something, and this is, I guess, my big nerd out moment. There's something so fucking satisfying about changing one option in this cell over here and having an entire spreadsheet, maybe across multiple tabs, maybe across multiple spreadsheets, depending on if you keep them in the same folder. All of that info will shift and change, and you can update and upgrade, and that it feels so fucking good.
Oh my God. Literally the ability to, and this is an Excel thing. This is what I'm about to mention isn't even capable in Google Sheets because I do Power Query. I don't know if you're familiar with Power Query.
I am, but I'm not proficient with it.
I am. I am. I love that thing. Oh my God, it is my favorite. Just to be able to compile all of your individual spreadsheets, like part of my job, because I do accounts receivable, is taking all the money that we get and putting it in the appropriate folder. Well, I can take all of our credit card transactions, put every single day's deposits in one folder, broken up by day. But then I can use Excel and say, how about you take every single spreadsheet in that folder and then compile it all into one table?
Mhm.
And just being able to have that power. And then if I add another file into that folder, I just hit refresh and it says, okay, I pulled that data too. To just have that power with Excel to pull all the data from all the places. It does things to me. I love
It's
it.
it's amazing.
I love it. Excel has more power than you think it has, and I think it even has too much power. The things it can do, it's disgusting.
One of these days, I'm gonna put my attention on Access as well because we want to get into databasing. Fuck. Oh my God.
All right. Well, hey, sometime if you just need me to give you a little crash course on all the extra things that I can do with Excel, like I've thought about buying Excel so I can get the expert level certification just because I think it'd be fun. And then it'd look
Should
real damn good on my resume.
and then you should make a YouTube channel for it.
I have probably one of the best social media managers lined up. I just don't know if I have the time between working full time and doing school part time.
Look, that's completely fair. One last thing I'm going to share. I forgot that I did this, and then we're going to wrap the episode. I did do a very crude hex crawl.
Okay, okay, okay. I like.
So I
What's
have
brown F?
one of those wood erase maps where it's squares on one side and hexes on the other. And so we were doing an overland hex crawl, and Dave and Dan were doing that when I'd split the party up, and they were moving through with a couple of NPCs, and I wanted to have them explore this island or the portion of this island, and so there was a
Woof. You had the good and the bad split. You had Dave and Dan for the bad split and everyone else.
and Megan, Casey, and Charlie for the good split, and then Mieka in the labyrinth. So, um, so anyway, yeah, I just gave myself some basic. I just needed an overall view of, hey, where's a goat path that travels on this? So I drew it all out. Like where's the river? Right, there's a lake in this one. I put an abandoned shack and camp with a couple of people in it, and like I did all that. You can see there are portals around as well. And I drew it out, and then I sat down and I just typed it into this so I could say, okay, here are my notes because I had to erase it all so that they could explore hex by hex, right? So I dropped them off down here where they wake, and they needed to get to the village with the NPCs. And so
Nice.
I was able to just bring this up on my phone. I didn't edit a damn thing on my phone as I went. They would go, all right, we're going to move on into this hex or this hex. My problem is there are an uneven number of hexes on a hex crawl just because of the way that the shape is. So it was like every other one has an extra line. So they're actually kind of off center of each other. And so it took a little bit of mental tracking to say, okay, they're going to go upward. And when they go up, it actually puts them in D. And when we go up again, it'll put them in C. Right. So like there was a little bit of that shit going on. But yeah, this hex crawl has, for those of you that are listening, I keep forgetting there are people that can't see it. There's 100 and well, there's 28 different lines of the hexes, and then for columns there are, what is that, 23 different lines. So and I put an enemy, environment, and loot in very, very quick notes, just what am I expecting to run into here, right? And then I color coded some of the stuff so it makes sense to me, like NPCs, there are goblins here, they're enemies, you might be able to talk to them, right? But so
You
yeah.
know, Adam, I feel like you're one of the people like me where if you have to share a spreadsheet you made with someone, you start with apologizing of this is what my brain looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an illness that I'm not apologizing for.
Oh, I'm an accountant. I will not apologize for how my spreadsheets look because at the end of the day, I have results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's that, yes, I follow you. But like,
But also, I'm sorry you have to look at how my brain thinks.
anyway, yeah. Now I just want to go back to this section and start to playing it again. There was a lot of stuff. They didn't get to the temple. I had a lot of cool shit at the temple. Anyways, moving on. Um, that's all for this discussion on using spreadsheets in Dungeons and Dragons, and I guess in general, just being nerds. Thanks, Scott, for choosing this topic. This when I'm like, hey, I would like to do some episodes with some Patreon subscribers. It could be folk talking about D&D stuff. I was expecting to craft like magic items. Nerding out about spreadsheets was not on my radar.
Dude,
Fucking love it.
I said, you know what? I don't know what I want to talk about. I'm at a good point with my campaign. I don't want to think too far ahead about my next campaign, like we talked about last time. I just thought, what are Adam and I going to enjoy talking about that is very useful for a D&D campaign?
Spreadsheets is the answer.
Spreadsheets is the answer.
Yeah.
Because if you want to know where my real nerd cred lies, it is in a spreadsheet. As much as I like role-playing games, I like video games, I like this, I like that. No, 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 no. I will out nerd a lot of people in spreadsheets.
Fantastic. Anyway, thanks for supporting the Patreon, Scott, and thanks everyone else for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. All Platinum Great Worm tier patrons have access to all of our Patreon content, the It's a Mimic Discord channel, and the opportunity to choose and record episodes with topics they'd like, just like this episode. If you'd like to learn more, the link to our Patreon is in the show notes of this episode. If you'd like to support us in other ways, we have a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com, and a store with some It's a Mimic merch. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're gonna get.